There is a silent exodus happening right now where Westerners are simply fed up and leaving the West. And the reason is simple. People are realizing that they can live much better lives somewhere else. So in this video, I'm going to break down the exact reasons why more and more Westerners are leaving the West and moving to places like Asia, Latin America, and even some places in Europe. If you stick around until the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do this yourself. So let's start off this video with some context. I did exactly what I'm talking about in this video. I walked away from a very cushiony life in New York City to move abroad here to Thailand, and this was 5 years ago. When I did it, everybody thought I was crazy. But today it seems like such a mainstream idea, especially looking at the state of a lot of these Western countries. Westerners from all walks of life are waking up and realizing that the math back home is simply broken. It just feels like you're constantly running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, and no matter how much money you make, it seems like you can never actually get ahead. And it's not just to do with money, it's about the value, which I'm going to be discussing more later on in this video. And to add to the context, everyone thinks that the only people who are moving abroad are these broke backpackers in their 20s who want to stay at cheap hostels, find themselves on a remote island. But if you actually look at the data right now, that is not at all accurate. Regular, everyday, normal people like young professionals, families, entrepreneurs, students, retirees, digital nomads, the average person is quietly packing up and leaving the West in record numbers. So let's start off with the first point, which is the salary versus the cost of living. There is way much more money to be made in America and a lot of these Western countries than there is anywhere else in the world. The US salaries, for example, are huge compared to global standards, and the average American makes 5 to 7 times more than the average person worldwide. But if you ask the average American if they feel wealthy, and they'll give you an entirely different answer. So it begs the question, what is the point of making, let's say, $100,000 a year if inflation, crazy rent prices, a massive health insurance bill means that you're still living paycheck to paycheck and can be financially ruined from just one large expense? Let's look at rent, for example. If you want to live in a major United States city, right now in a decent one-bedroom apartment, you're looking at least $2,500 to $3,500 a month. Add in your utilities, car payments, car insurance, gas, and a couple trips to the grocery store, and your entire paycheck is gone. Not to mention if you have kids or a spouse. So it feels like in the West, you're just paying this massive premium just to barely make ends meet. And you're just trapped by the huge astronomical cost of living. But when you move abroad, that whole system completely flips, especially when you earn Western currency and spend it in non-Western country. For example, let's talk about healthcare. Here in Thailand, you can walk into a premium world-class private hospital that looks like a 5-star hotel. You can see a specialist in 15 minutes, get your blood work done, get pretty much any treatment you want done, pay less than $100 out of pocket, and you don't have to fight with the insurance company. You don't have to do 3 months worth of paperwork or have this huge underlying fear that one medical emergency is going to basically bankrupt you. You can get everything done in just one afternoon for, I'm talking about pennies compared to US prices. So it just makes more sense to take your savings or build an income online or remotely and spend these dollars or euros in a country that actually allows you to breathe. For example, around $2,000 a month, you can live in a luxury high-rise with a rooftop pool, eat out every single day, and still save a huge chunk of your income, and overall get a way better lifestyle for a fraction of the cost. If you're able to position yourself financially where you don't have to be in the West and can spend it in non-Western countries, it's gonna pay 1000x. If you're specifically interested in how I make a living through content creation. I have a free guide on how to actually make money with content. You can check that out, link in the description. A quick shout out to today's sponsor, Awesome. If you live in Thailand or abroad and run a business, here's what you should consider incorporating in Singapore. You see, a lot of founders specifically choose Thailand for their lifestyle, but incorporate in Singapore for their company. Singapore gives you global credibility, clients trusted, banks take you seriously, and the regulations are clear and very structured. And that's exactly where Awesome comes in. Awesome helps you incorporate in Singapore and helps manage everything remotely, from accounting to compliance to taxes, all in one simple platform. And it's powered by AI, backed by real accountants, and gives you real-time financial insights, automated invoicing, and stress-free tax filing. So if you're looking to build this foundation for long-term growth, then you should definitely check out Awesome. You can save 16% off your first order. I'll have the link in the description. Now back to the video. Now let's talk about point number 2, which is safety and security. You see, there is a mental toll that comes with living in a place where you're constantly looking over your shoulder. If you look at the data, the homicide rate in the United States, for example, is hovering around 6 per 100,000 people. Now compare that to where expats are moving. Like in Thailand or other countries in Asia, that number drops to less than half. And in countries like Japan or Singapore, it's practically zero. So when you live abroad, in a lot of these hubs, you and your partner can walk around at any time of the day, at any street, and you don't have to worry. You can leave your laptop out the table while you use the restroom and not have to worry about it being stolen. You don't have to worry about crazy homeless people or being robbed or stabbed or being involved in school shootings. You see, people in the West have normalized crime so often that they don't even realize this is not the norm in other countries. They don't realize how heavy the constant anxiety and distrust of others is until you move somewhere where it doesn't even exist. Now, I'm not saying that there's no crime or there's no danger in a lot of these other countries, but it's not normalized. If you walk around in the streets of Philadelphia, you have people hovering around like zombies. That's not normal. And people have become so jaded and demoralized. And when you experience a new life in a lot of these other countries, it's just such a fresh of breath air, and it's just so energizing to realize, wow, almost everywhere is completely safe. I never have to watch over my back. So getting back to my point, this is also why so many families are leaving. It's about moving their kids to a better environment and sending their kids to world-class international schools, having them learn different cultures and languages, and getting world-class education for a fraction of what a US private school would cost. Another massive reason for this exodus is the actual everyday quality of life. In the United States, for example, unless you live in New York or Chicago, you almost always need a car to survive. A lot of Westerners are moving to places where the public transit is absolutely incredible. The cities are actually designed for humans to walk in, telling you there's a certain freedom to be able to walk outside of your condo or apartment and to be able to buy something from the mall, or to be able to hop on a taxi on any street, or to be able to buy something from a local 7-Eleven, or buy a random smoothie, or go get a massage, or you know what I mean, or to visit your friends that lives 10 to 15 minutes away. There's so much freedom in that. And it's not just about transportation. Let's talk about the food and the convenience. In the West, an average lunch is going to cost around $25, and food delivery can cost $30 to $50. But in Asia, for example, you can walk 5 minutes from your condo and get a hefty meal for around $5. It's absolutely insane. And not to mention, there's no tipping at all either. But let me talk about point number 4, which is where are people actually going? It usually breaks down into 3 main regions depending on what kind of lifestyle you're looking for. First, you have Southeast Asia, like places like Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Bali, and Da Nang. They're all extremely attractive, low cost of living hubs where the weather is tropical, the food is incredible, and your money stretches so unbelievably far. Second, you have Latin America, places like Medellin, Colombia, or Mexico City, or even Brazil. Specifically, a lot of remote workers and entrepreneurs choose this region because it keeps them in the same time zone as their jobs or their clients back in the United States. However, there are some concerns for safety in some of these countries, but if you ask most of the expats there, as long as you have a good sense on you, as long as you have a good head on you, it's pretty manageable. And thirdly, you even have some European regions like Spain, Portugal, Georgia, Estonia. A lot of these countries have actually started rolling out specific digital nomad visas because they want foreign money and foreign workers spending their money into their economies. It is going to be a bit more expensive than Asia or Latin America, but you still get that classic European lifestyle, the incredible architecture, and the ability to hop on a $40 flight to go to Paris or Rome for the weekend. So what does this all actually mean? The point here is that the world is completely global now, and opportunities are not just locked inside one location anymore. Entrepreneurs, remote workers, retirees, families, they're all realizing that they don't have to settle for a society that doesn't give them what they're looking for. They don't have to settle for a society that doesn't give them the value that they once did. The American dream, while I do believe it actually still exists, and while I do believe in America, for example, it's one of the greatest countries where you can earn a living and become wealthy and come from nothing, right? What I'm saying is you don't have to stay in a situation or environment that no longer provides for you. For me, I made myself in America. I am 100% American raised and American cultured and American mindset. My parents are American, but that doesn't mean I have to live there my whole entire life. I'm free to explore. I'm free to live in other places that I think serve me better. That's the whole point of this video, to go where you're treated best. If you want to learn how I did it, I essentially made this lifestyle sustainable with content creation. Making content allows me to make income everywhere I go, and it's given me so much more freedom and opportunity than any other remote work job or business or opportunity has. So if you're interested in starting your own personal brand and making a living with content, then check out the free training down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts in the comments below, and follow me on Instagram at I'm Paul Lee, and I'll see you in the next video.